Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Grace Church, to the kickoff of our Summer Music at Grace series for 2024. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've been doing this particular kickoff with Mark for a long time. He'll talk a little bit more about it, how it got started, but this is our 22nd farewell reunion and our 23rd farewell. So we've been at it for a while. Mark's been retired from at least one of his jobs for a while. So welcome. I'll go through a couple of housekeeping items. There is a lovely deluxe porta-john around the corner. There's been a building on this site, a church building, a Grace Church building, for 200 years, and we still haven't figured out plumbing. So maybe in the next 200 years we'll get that figured out. Some people ask, is this an active parish? It is. It's, in fact, somewhere here. Reverend Darcy is, I think she might be out in the vestibule right now. There she is. There she is. Reverend Darcy. And we meet here every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. So welcome from Grace. This year we are building, as usual, building the series as we go, but I wanted to let you know about some upcoming concerts. So tonight we're very excited to have Becky, Tracy, and Keith Murphy kicking us off for the summer season. On the 5th of July, we have Josh Warman and band coming back. Some of you heard them last year. It's a great mix of rock music in the style of Josh Warman. It's great. I recommend that concert to you. You'll have a great time. August 9th, All Alive with Susan Wright and Mary Ann Samuels, and some of their friends from Full Circle Recorders will also be here. And then August 16th, Frevo, a perennial favorite, with Wendy Matthews, Peter Matthews, Bonnie Thurber-Klimowski, and Steve Klimowski will be here playing their eclectic instrumental music. So stay tuned, because these things can change and expand. And we are on Facebook, Summer Music at Grace, so check there for updates. We have little cards, cheat cards here to remind you of what's coming up, and they're out in the vestibule. And this concert benefits a wonderful cause, so if you haven't and you'd like to, please stop by the donation bucket in the vestibule at Intermission, when we'll be having desserts. So anyway, welcome, and I'm going to pass you over to Mark Sustic.
Thanks, Beth. All right. So any of the reserved seats are no longer reserved. They are available to anybody. So move on up to the front. There's a bunch of them up here. If you had a reserved seat, you better get it now. But it's unreserved seating at this point. So anybody wants to move up, please do. So as Beth said, this is the 23rd year that we've done a program here called a farewell. And the first one wasn't a reunion, so it's a little confusing. There's been 23 of these, 22 reunions. Got it? I always have to remind myself. Our performers tonight are going to join us shortly, and they live about as far away from this corner of Vermont as they can get. And still be in Vermont. And still be in Vermont, right. And really glad that they're here. Of course, you can get confused because, and this has happened with folks who have come to this concert before, you can go to the Sheldon Museum in Middlebury, or you can go to Shelburne, right? And but this is Sheldon, and we're really glad to be here. I always know what I'm doing on the Friday before Memorial Day. Glad to be back. Glad that some of you are back. I was hearing somebody say that they maybe came to the first one and not one since. So thanks everyone for being here. If this is your first time, I think you're going to have a great time. There are CDs and tune books and some other information out in in the entryway. And beyond that, get ready for, please welcome Keith Murphy and Becky Tracy.
Thank you very much. So great to be up. It was so nice to take a drive this direction out of Brattleboro and head north with all the greenery and the mountains and just beautiful.
Yeah, so thanks for coming. We're going to get you singing right away. We're going to do a song from Newfoundland, which is the part of Canada where I'm from. And this is a classic Newfoundland song. It's called Lukey's Boat. And it's kind of a little bit in the form of a shanty. In every verse, I'm going to sing a line that'll go dee-da-dum-da-da-dee-da, and then your part is aha, me buys. Sing that. Aha, me buys. So just imagine that you're on a ship and not in a church. So you're not going to sing aha, me buys, but aha, me buys. Try it. Aha, me buys. And then I'll sing da-dee-dum, da-dee-da-dum, da-da-ba-dee-da-dee-da-da. And then your line is this. Aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Go. Aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. So I'll sing. Da-dee-dum, da-dee-da-da. Aha, me wise. Da-dum, ba-da-dee-da-dee-dum, da-dum, ba-da-dee-da-dee-da. Aha, aha, me
Riddle-I-day.
Yeah, okay, good luck. Oh, Lucky's boat is painted green, aha, me wise. Oh, Lucky's boat is painted green, it's the prettiest little boat you've ever seen, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. And Lucky's boat got a fine for cutting, aha, me wise. Oh, Lucky's boat got a fine for cutting, and every scene is deep with me, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Lucky's boat got a high stop jib, aha, me wise. Oh, Lucky's boat got a high stop jib and a patent block on the main masthead, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. I fix it a Lucky, I'll make her bigger, aha, me wise. I fix it a Lucky, I'll make her bigger and load her down with a one-butt aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Oh, now says Lucky, get aboard your grub, aha, me wise. Oh, now says Lucky, get aboard your grub, it's a one-spit tea in a 10-pound tub, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Now Lucky's rolling out his grub, aha, me wise. Now Lucky's rolling out his grub, it's a barrel and a back and a 10-pound tub, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Oh, now says Lucky, come around the bill, aha, me wise. When Lucky's come around the bill, he's by his sweetheart on the hill, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. When Lucky's come around the cape, aha, me wise. When Lucky's come around the cape, he's spied old Jenny on the field, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Now Lucky's boat is painted green, aha, me wise. Oh, Lucky's boat is painted green, it's the prettiest little boat you've ever seen, aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Sing it right in. Aha, aha, me riddle-I-day. Last chance. Aha, aha, me riddle-I-day.
So we're going to play a tune from each of us. The first tune is a tune I wrote for dear friends of mine when they got married about 10 years ago, and it's called May You Have Joy. And the great thing is this couple moved across the street from us about 2 years ago. So after being out in the world, they've come, right nearby, and I knew Susan when I was first working in Maine in 1985, and Keith knew Doug in Toronto
in the late 80s, before I moved to the States.
So these two friends, we knew both of them before they knew each other.
Or before we knew each other.
Exactly. So now it's just this funny coincidence. Anyway, may you have joy, and then a tune from Keith called Prosperity. So this is a wish for you. May you have joy and prosperity.
a certain number of instruments that I have to get through before the break, so I'm just going to move in here. This is it's a little instrument called a harmonium, and it's a version of a little bellows organ. And so we live in Brattleboro, kind of home of the home pump organ, the SD organ factory. Has anybody here seen an SD organ? Familiar with the SD organs? So in Brattleboro, this company, the SD Organ Factory, made these home pump organs that were very, very popular, through the 1800s, well into the 1900s. And you see them around in a lot of places. They often have these big, ornate stands up behind them. They work by, pumping these two pedals. And we live just like a couple of blocks from the old SD organ factory. And we think that, there's probably workers from the factory that lived in our home and probably, were part of that production. SD was the biggest manufacturer of home pump organs in the world for over 100 years. Anyway, this instrument is not an SD, but it kind of evokes for us a little bit that sound. We're going to play a tune that I wrote. I just wrote it last December for a friend who passed away in the fall, a man named Brian O'Donovan. He was a guy in Boston who was an Irish fellow who moved to Boston decades ago. And he was a radio host. He had a radio program called Celtic Sojourn for a long, long time. It was a huge part of the Irish music scene in Boston, promoting and producing concerts. And I got to work with him for quite a number of years. Brian was from a small town called Clonakilty in Cork in the south of Ireland. And so I wrote this tune and I called it Clonakilty. Well, it's lovely to be this far north. A little sad that we're not quite in Canada. No offense. Okay. We're going to do a song in French, another sort of sea-type song. This is actually about a sailor who's just come home, and he's been away. He's clearly been away at war. You know, he's been away for a long time, and he's looking a little rough around the edges. He's only got one shoe on, and he's just come home to his home tavern, and he's so happy to be there. And he orders a glass of wine, and he sits down and he's drinking his first glass of wine, and he's starting to sing, and he looks up and he realizes that the waitress is crying. And he says, "Oh, what is wrong?" And she says, "Nothing. It's nothing. It's just that my husband has been gone for a long time, and you look quite a bit like him." And fortunately, right at that moment, it's the fiddle break, so he gets a moment to kind of think about what he's going to say next. And so then he says, "That's interesting, because when your husband left, you only had one child, and now you have 3. And she says, "Well, yes, but I thought that my husband, I'd been told that he had died, and only then did I remarry." And he doesn't say anything. He just finishes his glass of wine, he gets up, and with a tear in his eye, he walks out the door. And I just think that is a model of communication right there. It's just it's a great way to work things out.
Lovely.
Lovely. Maybe not. I don't know. Brave marin. Brave marin, reviens de guerre, tu doux. Brave marin, reviens de guerre, tu doux. Un pied chaussé et l'autre nu, pauvre marin, tu reviens tout doux. Madame, je reviens de guerre, tu doux. Madame, je reviens de guerre, tu doux. On apporte ici du vin que So Becky and I do a lot of work with our music school in Brattleboro, the Brattleboro Music Center, which has historically been mostly a classical music school. But, and we weren't the very first people, but about 15 years ago or so, we started teaching traditional music classes there, sort of mixed instrument groups, just teaching mostly a lot of Irish tunes, some French-Canadian tunes, and a few other things. And it's grown, it's become a really wonderful community of students now, a really thriving scene. So we're going to play a set of Irish tunes that we've been working on with our students recently. Fox on the Town, Forget Me Not, and The Green Gowned Lass.
in a few weeks, and we won't be playing them quite that fast. We hope.
It's always the biggest preoccupation with our students. How fast is it going to be? Be a little bit slower.
Yep.
Well, we're going to do a song that kind of ultimately comes to us from a friend of ours, Ronnie Arbo, who's a great musician and singer. Has a band called Daisy Mayhem. Anybody heard Ronnie Arbo and Daisy Mayhem? Ronnie, really, truly great musicians all. Ronnie, R-A-N-I, woman, was inspired to set a piece of poetry to music from Alfred Lord Tennyson about 10 years ago. One of Tennyson's most famous poems, Crossing the Bar. And Crossing the Bar is Tennyson's song about passing from this world onto the next, and he uses the metaphor of a boat leaving the safety of the harbor, going out over the bar, out onto the open ocean, as his, as I say, metaphor for transitioning from this world to the next. And there's an unfortunate number of close friends that we think about now when we sing this, and kind of being in this area. We, of course, think of our dear friend Pete Sutherland, who did so much work with Mark over the years. So here it is, Crossing the Bar. Sunset and evening star, one clear call for me. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. Such a tide is turning, seems asleep, too full for sound and foam. When that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Turns again home. Turns again home. When that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, after that the dark. May there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. When I embark. When I embark. May there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. Though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed That Crossing the Bar is on my second most recent solo album, Land of Fish and Seals. Becky and I also have a duo recording, Golden. And so we have those recordings here. I just want to say, I moved to New England in the early 90s, and I was very excited by the traditional music scene in this area. And I was coming down for a variety of different things, certain things in the dance scene. But one event that that very quickly got on my radar was the Champlain Valley Folk Festival. And when I discovered that festival and went there for the first time, I was dumbfounded because so many people were there, so many performers were there who I'd never seen before, who I'd only known from recordings. And there they were at this festival, and I would go and get lunch, and they were sitting like arm in arm's length from me. And I met Mark McCarthy and Pierre Ben-Suzanne and Dougie MacLean and the guys from Bottine-sur-Yonne and Liz Carroll. I mean, just this incredible list. And that happened because of Mark.
Yeah.
It was really just like such a pivotal thing for us. You know, it was like a golden era. Really big.
So now, some of those French-Canadian tunes that we were so inspired by, the Forgeron and then Rille en Vie.
10-minute break for 15 minutes and come back in about 20. Because some of you are going to be standing in line. As far as I know.
Show, just if you brought something, please take it along when you leave, unless you want to donate it to anybody in here. But take your dishes and we usually end up with a few extra utensils at the end of the night and a few umbrellas in case you want to check our supply out there. And so that's one thing. The other thing is I just want to make mention of the fact that our good friends from the next town over are here tonight, and the Meeting House on the Green series has actually started, but tomorrow is the sort of official kickoff. Meetinghouseonthegreen.org, right? Yes. Yes, okay, great, there you are. And tomorrow's performance starts at Beck, Steel and Barrow, 5 o'clock, Meeting House on the Green, East Fairfield. And now I'll turn it back over to our performers.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to jump in with with an up-tempo song here before your sugar rush is over. This is another song from Quebec. It's called C'est aujourd'hui grand fête. Today is the day of the big party.
first one he wrote for me. It's called Nobody's Fool. And the reason he called it that is because my birthday is on April 2nd. And then Nobody's Fool, Mr. Roberts, and the Puppeteer, written for those giant puppets that are famous in our state and also at camps. Bread and puppet-like puppets. So, have it.
Well, a number of years ago, I found a poem in Newfoundland that had been written by a woman named Margaret Peace. And Margaret Peace had moved to Newfoundland in the 1840s with her family from Scotland. And they didn't stay in Newfoundland for very long, about 15 years or so. But while she was there, she wrote this poem called The Land of Fish and Seals. Newfoundland was often known, especially among the Irish, as the land of fish, or in Gaelic, Talavanesh. And so she'd written this poem, just kind of an ode to the people of Newfoundland and how hardworking they are and brave in the face of, kind of such difficult conditions. So she didn't stay in Newfoundland. The family moved they emigrated to New Zealand in 1862, I think, to try their luck there. So anyway, I'd found this poem, and I'd set this poem to music, and started singing it, and then eventually recorded the song, and it became the title track on my album, The Land of Fish and Seals, which came out, 2018 or something. So in the spring of the pandemic, I get an email from a woman from New Zealand who says that she is the great-great-great-granddaughter of Margaret Peace, and she's just discovered my music online, and she's so delighted to know that the poetry of her great-great-great-grandmother, that it's still out there and being enjoyed. So that was a great connection, and we had a few emails back and forth, and I got some more details on the family history. About 3 months later, I get another email from a woman in New Zealand who says she is the great-great-great-granddaughter of Margaret Peace, and she's just discovered my music online, and she's delighted to have found it, etc., etc. And the funny thing was, she made no reference whatsoever to the other woman who'd written me a few months earlier. And it turned out that these two women did not know each other, that they were from different parts of New Zealand, different branches of the family over the course of many generations. And so I did what any Canadian is trained to do in this situation. I called the CBC. And we had a lovely interview on the radio. Very early in the morning for me and late at night for them. And so now there are statues of me all over New Zealand. And I still sing The Land of Fish and Seals. And I tell that long story because that's how long it takes for me to retune my guitar. Let sunny India her wealth proclaim, her gorgeous glowing skies, her silken stores and golden veins, and flowers of every dye. We envy not her gaudy show, where death insidious steals, for wealth's bright diamond deck our brow, in the land of fish and seal. Let Italy and France and Spain their vine-clad valleys praise. Let Greece and Rome take up the strain and sing the bygone days of classic fame and glorious names, which fame's loud trumpet reveals. But we boast not of our past glories in the land of fish and seal. No great immortal names are ours, whose deeds our annals trace. No sunny skies, nor golden mines, nor vines our valleys grace. But yet our ice-girt dial can claim the true, the brave, the leal. For slave and tyrant May plenty cheer our hardy sons, and fortune on them smile. If milk and honey are not ours, may we have lots of oil. It'll make each face shine bright with joy, each bosom grateful feel, and bring contentment, joy, and peace in the land of fish and seal. It'll make each face shine bright with joy, each bosom grateful feel, and bring contentment, joy, and peace in the land of fish and seal.
So we're going to play in a Hurlin piece called Squire Wood's Lamentation on the Refusal of His Halfpence. It's a mouthful.
Well, I only talked about the things that Mark did 30 years ago for folk music. I didn't even get around to mentioning all the stuff that he's done since then, particularly for all the young people and kind of the educational stuff that he's supported. But there's another person here in the house tonight who also deserves recognition once again, if he hasn't already received it enough. That's Mr. Robert Resnick back there in the corner from all the traditions. I asked Robert in the break how long he'd been doing the radio show. He said 28 years now. That's quite a commitment, and huge service to all of us, to everybody, certainly for those of us, who are out here making the music. So, Robert, thank you so much. We're going to do a song from our duo recording, Golden, and it's a classic, sort of a modern folk classic from Canadian songwriter Stan Rogers. And it's probably Stan's one of his best-known songs, The Northwest Passage. You're very welcome to join in on the chorus. And the words are, "Ah, for just one time, I would take the Northwest Passage, to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one worn line through a land so wild and savage, and make the Northwest Passage to the sea."
It's a lot of words.
If you'd like to practice at home, once again, our CD is... this way. Like them I left a settled life, I threw it all away. To seek the Northwest Passage at the call of many men, to find there but the road back home again. Ah, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing on a warm line through a land so wild and savage, and make the Northwest Passage to the sea. One more. Ah, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage, find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing on a warm line through a land so wild and savage, make the Northwest Passage to the sea. Thanks. Well, we're going to just wrap up with one more piece. Really so lovely to play for you here on such a beautiful day, beautiful space. And I hope we get to see you again sometime. Our website is blackloudmusic.com. If you find your way there, you can sign up on our email list and find out about other things that we're doing. Other times we might be back, but one more time, big thanks to Mark for having us and for making this happen. Thank you, Mark. We're going to wrap up with this set of tunes that I wrote many years ago. I used to be part of a group called Child's Play, a group based in Boston with a large number of fiddle players, all of whom played fiddles made by fiddlemaker Bob Childs. And these are fiddle players who came from a lot of different backgrounds, Irish or old-time or Scottish, classical, but they all came together in this group once a year, and we would put together a program of music. And I composed a set of tunes for the group one year. It's a strathspey, which is a kind of a Scottish style of tune, and then into a couple of polkas, which are very Irish. So you pretty much never hear strathspeys played with polkas, so this is a very special evening for you. We're going to play this set of tunes called the Child's Play Strathspey, and then these two polkas that I wrote, the Black Diamond and the Putney Mountain Polka. one more quick blast of Irish reels. Well, Irish kind of reels. Actually, one Irish reel, and then a couple more tunes of mine. Here we go.